I've been involved in fundraising for a long time, and my foray into fundraising and working for nonprofits was kind of accidental because I got laid off from the dot-com world way back in 2001, and I was driving home that day at 1 o'clock in the afternoon after we had lunch and stopped at the National Multiple Sclerosis Society office in Waltham, Massachusetts. I had ridden all their bike rides for many years, and I said, hey, if you need a volunteer, let me know. I'll be collecting unemployment with thousands of other ex-dot-com workers. So that's what led me into nonprofit. Started volunteering there, and then a few weeks later, the bike tour manager left, and there I was. So most of my fundraising experience is in peer-to-peer, but then at Dana-Farber, we had, I think, 146 active donation pages, which is complete insanity. But we were raising $20 million online with all the stuff we were doing between peer-to-peer and online donation forms. And that's out of an overall $230 million we raised as an organization, a big major gifts operation there. So I've created a ton of donation forms, done a lot of JavaScript on pages using other platforms because they didn't have all the awesome tools that Engaging Networks did or does. And what led me to Engaging Networks is one of my roles at Dana-Farber was to figure out what they were going to go to next after Blackbaud Sphere. And so the more I identified every player in the industry, put that list together, started crossing people off because I just couldn't do the stuff we needed to. And the more I looked at Engaging Networks, the more I liked. So I left Dana-Farber and went to work for Engaging Networks. And I have to credit the Zuri group for making that introduction, because I actually met Graham at BBCon, a Blackbaud's conference in 2014. And so it was funny that when we were moving the office on Friday, one of the things I found in the office was Graham's name badge from BBCon 2014. So it's really funny for his name to be on the BBCon badge, but that's actually when I met him several years ago. So I'm going to talk about a bunch of things that you can do with your donation pages, and what I'm going to be doing here is flipping from my slide deck and then into my test account where I'm then going to show you where some of this stuff lives and what you can do with it. So, and for whatever, Ben gave me the assignment last week to write the descriptions for the 3 sessions like by the end of the day. So somehow the creative juices just started flowing, and I came up with this car theme for this one. I don't know why. So test drive. So So if you want to figure out what are some of the different things that you're going to do on your pages and how is that going to work with your audience, you can actually test those using the test page type in Engaging Networks. That came out sometime within the last year. I'm struggling to remember when exactly we released it. But you can basically stack up different versions of your donation page or any page type, and we'll then distribute the requests for that master page to those pages linked, and then give you a scoring tool to then see what's going to work best. So let's go see this in action. So if you do want to do some of these things that we're going to be looking at, this is how you can prove with some data as to what works. So we're in Page Builder, which you access by clicking on the page icon, and this is a split test page. So that is this icon over here. And you go to create it. I've got one already created, or several already created. And basically what it is just then pulling in other donation pages to link inside this test page. And then this is the URL that you send people to. So this could be that Donate Now button on your homepage. Send it to this link, and then we'll distribute to any of the pages round robin format. And so to add pages to that list, you simply select the pages from your list. You can search and filter for this as well, find which pages. I've got 3 of them in here so far, but you could easily add additional pages to that list to be able to then look at what's going to work. The scoring on this is in the admin section. Simple page settings, which pages. Here's another way to get to add more pages to it. We always give you more than one way to do something. And then the winner is a simple calculation of, and I just says you can check this or not check this, enable automatic selection of the winner based on the settings below. And I've said after we receive 1,000 page views, then let's send all future requests to the of those 3 pages, the one with the most page conversions. This is the sole criteria. We've already talked about in future releases maybe changing that to be like total donations or one time versus recurring, put some other metrics in there, but where we started with this. So if you do have some thoughts on that, please share that with us, because as you heard from Graham's roadmap sessions, we're really taking a look back at a lot of the features in the software and how we can make them better. So if you do have,
So conversions means all the way through the donation.
Correct, yeah, completed the donation. Yeah, so if they abandon, that's not going to show up as a conversion.
You still track what they abandoned?
You can, if you're using Google Analytics, sure, you can track which part of the page they abandoned on. Absolutely, yeah, because every one of the pages in that flow then has an identifier in it, so you can figure out which part of the page they abandoned on. Yeah.
I'm sorry, this might be clear, but right now it says 1,000 page views, that's how the select the winner, but then it also says page conversion. So does 1,000 page views mean when they converted, or is it just when they
1,000 page views, so after 1,000 people hit this page, we're then going to look at the number of conversions distributed over the 3 pages, and that's the winner. Yeah. Yeah. No problem. Any other questions about this one? Yeah.
Is there a report that we can look at? Number, see revenue and gifts, and types of gifts?
That's a good one. I don't think we actually created a report for the split test page type. So there's a 2019 roadmap item.
Okay.
Bingo, ding, ding, first one. Good question. I mean, you can certainly look at, you do a report and just pull all 3 donation pages in it and then just filter the export data. But there isn't a nice visual report that shows you, like an email, like a split test for email. But that's probably a very easy way for us to do that with visualization. Yeah.
So there's nothing visual here saying B, B, and C, that's something.
No, not yet. Coming in 2019. Yeah, I get to say that as a sales engineer. I'm not part of the dev team, so don't often believe what I say. Any other questions about split test? Cool. So on to our next one. Sorry, I'm gonna jump back and forth with this. Domestic or import? I drive a Ford. My 3 years of high school French barely get me by in different places. So I do not have multiple language ability. Do any of you speak French? Yeah, so go talk to Graham. Just walk up to Graham today and start speaking to him in French, because his French is fantastic. But the multiple languages, during demos, I always ask the client, do you currently or do you plan to do your pages in any language other than English, to do multiple languages? Because we were founded in London way back in 2000. We had to figure out that whole multiple language, multiple currency issue way back in our history, so we do this really well. So the way this works inside a page, first of all, there's a couple account settings. So what you would do in your account is jump over to account settings. If you're not a super admin in your account, you won't be able to access this. But here in the, here we go. There's a spot in here in account settings to enable multiple languages or locales. Locale being a combination of a country and a language. And so therefore you could have different, Spanish is spoken differently in all the countries it's spoken in. So we do have different variations of that. The way we deliver these page layers to your supporter is that we look at the preferred language setting in their browser, grab that info when they request the page. It happens in nanoseconds, and then we then deliver that page in that language if you've enabled that language, if you've provided the translation layers. That's what we're going to look at. So step 1 is to enable those languages in your account. Step 2 is to, in your account data structure, meaning all of the fields you have in your account, once you enable those multiple languages, you'll see additional tabs in here. And I flip over to the French one. What this allows you to do is to take the task of changing all of your field labels over to that language. So instead of title, have titre, and instead of first name, prenom, etc. So I went through as a one-time effort and translated all of my field labels. So that way, when that field appears on the form, the label on it is going to be in that language. And this also it allows you to do any tooltips, and then you can also change any of the error messages as well. So do think about some of the downstream issue. If you've written all of your alert messages in English, think about doing that as well. So there is a bit of overhead to start this off, but then it's a one-time effort to do all that translation. So once you have that, when you go in to create a page, or pick up a page that's already got this enabled on, in my case, I'm going to find my go-to page for this purpose.
John, the
There's-
standard field names are they already translated as it comes out of the box? You added those translations, you still have to go through all those?
Yes, yes, yeah. No, we're not doing any translation. Yeah, we're not touching your content. Yeah, your field labels, your field names are what was set up during, that's something we work with you on when you set up the account. But if you do then want to add, those tabs will appear once you enable the language, and then you need to go through in each one of those fields. And with the magic of Google Translate, it's pretty easy, but no replacement for a native speaker to get the other parts of the language down right. So in this multi-language page, first up, when I look at the page settings up here, the language setting, the item here is to select the default language. So the base language for this page, I've got it set as English US. And then what other additional languages do you want to present this page in? And then whatever you populate in account settings will then appear here. So if you want this page in French and Japanese, as I did in this case, select those languages. So that's as you move into the page. And then for each element placed on the page, you can then manipulate that element. So if you click on your text block, so we see marine mammals need your help. This box up here, and this appears on all of the components in Page Builder, you simply select which layer you want to then edit. So it was really more Google Translate than my 3 years of high school French. Sorry, Madame Gilliard, it didn't help me. But it, got this translated over, and then even in form blocks as well. So in form blocks, if we look at that French layer, when we pull a field over, notice this says middle name when it's over here. Okay, making a liar out of me. Okay, well the label is in here. I thought it was going to pop up here. So you see that the label has pulled over because I'm on the French layer of this form block, pull the field onto it. It's going to then look back to the account data structure and say, oh, I want to display this label. So nothing you then have to do on the form itself to further modify your fields, unless if there's values on there, like particularly if you're doing multiple currency pages as well, probably want to change up those amounts, because if you're just doing your 10, 20, 50, 100, well, in dollars that makes sense, but different numbers might make sense in a different currency, because those amounts might be tiny or really large in another currency. So the other thing that makes this really handy is in the preview bar. Once you enable those multiple languages, you can then view the entire page in that language. So if I select French up here, preview, I can actually open it up in a browser, see it in a browser as our supporter would, and noticing that I missed the payment currency field when I did my field labeling. But even opt-in questions, I went through and changed out the displays on my value, my opt-in questions. Within the browser, when you select load, then that shows it in the editor with the other language layered on there. Yes?
In different languages, often the currency indicator will be after the amount. Is that an option?
Yeah. So whenever you, particularly into a text block and also into emails, whenever you insert an amount field, same is true for date fields as well. If I'm going to drop this amount field in, it then asks me to then select a currency format. So what do we use as a 1,000 separator? So for selecting French, and then where's that currency symbol go? Is go on the right or left of the value. So anytime you do an insert, it'll pop that in there. And then the other point of that is date formats. That when you go to insert a date field, so if we want to put the donation date, and this would probably more likely be on the thank you page than on the first page of this action, but then we have our choice of date formats to display into the page for the supporter. Any other questions about multiple languages? you could even take an approach of, even if you're working in countries where the spellings are different, like the word color, for example, in American English, that's doesn't have a U in it, but in in the UK it does, and then there's Canada too, and it's a kind of a, there's other spellings there too. So if you are doing multiple currency and operating multiple countries, be respectful to that donor by putting in multiple languages, and so then therefore they don't think, oh, this is some U.S.-based organization that's going to take this money from us. So just might make the donor feel better about making that gift. Cool. Next one is, let's just not jump back and forth. Let me just expand this a little bit. There we go. Option packages. So if you're buying a car, you go for the option packages. A dynamic field behavior. So dynamic field behavior is all about, look at this example from HSI. First up, they have multiple currency selector, Humane Society International, after all. So those amounts can change based on the input. So that's a dynamic field behavior when we select a currency amount to then change the displayed values in there, again, to get the values right for that as well. They're also offering one-time and monthly options here. We click continue, move on to page 2. We then have contact fields. And this actually, I wasn't going to talk about this, but HSI also did a simple integration with Google Address Completer. And so if I start to put in my address, 1201 South Eads Street in Arlington, Virginia, it then figures out the rest of it, and then we'll populate that address. So pretty simple integration, just a little bit of JavaScript to pop that into a page. So other things on hiding and displaying fields. Let me see what CPJ's got on their form. Yeah, so here's a good example. So this gift is in honor or memory of someone. So if we say yes to that question by checking the box, then another field displays to then ask us, well, what type of gift? Is this in honor or in memory? And then if it's in honor, then let's capture an honoree name and a notification email address and a message to send. So making your form compact to start with reduces the abandon rate for your form, but then make those fields available as your supporter selects choices on the form itself. So there are a couple tools inside the pages to let you do this. Going back to this page. So one of those is within the form block itself. So if you want to vary the displayed amount, whether somebody selects a one-time gift or recurring gift, and then display different amounts, which is a really good idea because then 12 times that amount versus a small amount versus bigger amounts. So if we look at this form block, in my gift amount field, I have values ranging from $10 to $500, and I've gone with the highest amount at the top. If you want to change your order of your values, everything's drag and drop in here, so you can simply move things around. But what if somebody makes a recurring gift? I want to show a different set of amounts. This inconspicuous icon right here, right, this little thing up here, which is, I think it's a triangle and a cube, and then arrows pointing between the two. I don't know what that's really supposed to represent, but it's called a field update. So field update allows you to do simple if-then. So no JavaScript needed. So while we have lots of awesome partner agencies with some really awesome design chops and can do a lot of great JavaScript for you, you don't have to resort to that for simple things like this. No offense to the partner agencies in the room. Plenty more work for you guys. So in this case, I've taken the field. So any field that you have in this form block will populate into this box. And please note that it's only the form fields on the fields in this form block. It won't look at other pages in the workflow because it is within this single form block where we're going to make this action happen. So if recurring payment is equal to Y, and that's the value that I'm using. So it might say I might actually have a display value to say, yes, I'd like to make a monthly donation. That's what the donor sees, but the value that actually gets inserted in the software is what we're after. So if you're doing this and you're testing it, like, why isn't this working? That's usually and I make that mistake too, of then not remembering it's the value and not the item. If you want to put other parameters in here, you can then string them together with ands and ors, look at different fields, so you can do a combination of field values, so you can add those as you like. But then we're going to use one of these two actions, either swap list or set values. In this case, I selected swap list. So I'm going to swap the list that's associated with my gift amount field. It's what I call it the donation amount field. And instead of that default list with $10 to $50, instead I've configured a monthly list. And that monthly list I can edit from here. And there I have values ranging from $10 to $30 in $5 increments. So that easy to then have that really great dynamic behavior. Really would show a lift in your conversions from one-time to monthly donations. So big improvement. Because I see so many sites where on the how to give page, the how to give page is the first click that the supporter takes. And then, would you like to make a one-time gift? Click here. Would you like to make a monthly gift? Click here. Would you like to do gift of stock? And there's all these options, which is, it's confusing to the supporter. You're putting more clicks in their way. And particularly on the one-time or recurring, just give now online. Click them over to your donation page, and then on the donation page, have this dynamic behavior where if they choose recurring gift or one-time gift, then that's where that you still, so you have that option present. So great example is from Human Rights Campaign. When Human Rights Campaign migrated from Convio Illuminate a couple years ago, this donation page still rocks. This is the page from 2015 or 16 when they migrated. For their year-end that first year-end fundraising campaign that they were on Engaging Networks, they set some goals for one-time gifts and for recurring gifts. For one-time gifts, they beat their goal by 10%, but for monthly gifts by 600%. So they absolutely crushed the recurring goal. And partly because of this ability. Now, in this case, this was done with JavaScript, because with Page Builder didn't have the easy function I was just showing you, but now we have the easy function. So it's that much more easy for you to set this up. And so offering that one-time or monthly option then changes these displayed amounts. So it's as if the donor is having a conversation with themselves of, what type? How can I best support this organization? You know what? I can swing $30 a month. I really like what this organization is doing. Let me go ahead and do that. So they've made it super easy, and then also styling these buttons up really big as well. So that way there's no mistake that the supporter is going to miss it. And then when you move this down to more of a mobile screen size, they really spent some time on the design to make sure that it was going to play well on mobile. And they're also changing other content on the page. So it's not just the displayed amounts, but other content is changing to keep in step with the monthly selection. So it can give yourself a huge lift. And maybe this is where you want to take that first concept of testing your page and then set up a new page where you do have the monthly and one-time options versus a one-time only option and see what the lift is on recurring donations in that case. So think about joining some of these ideas. So let me just jump back over to, sorry, that was yesterday's. Okay, what browser am I in? There we go. As usual, I have way too many screens open. So the other tool in here is set value. So if you wanted to insert a value in a particular field based on some other condition, I sometimes struggle to come up with a use case for this one. I'm sure there is a use case of if they say this, push this field somewhere else or what. I'm not, again, if somebody's got a use case, I'd love to have an example because I often struggle with trying to find a use case for that one. So that's just one of the dynamic tools. And again, that's within the form block itself, and it's called a field update. Another tool is the, where is it? Under component, it's under forms. Dependencies. Dependencies are a tool under forms, and this is where we do all that hide and display business. So in this case, if somebody says, yes, this gift is an honor or memory, that field has a value of Y, then I'm going to use this action called show and hide. And I'm going to show the honoree name field. I'm going to show the notified party name field. I might want to show the contact fields for that person, or might want to put another question in there. Would you like to send a card, or link over to our e-card page, whatever the case is. So that's one of the actions. So, and this will look across all of the form blocks. So this will display all of the fields present on the multiple work pages within this workflow. So you can base it across elements, but the value would already have to be somewhere on the page. You can't pick a value on a page in a field the supporter hasn't populated yet. So if it's on fields on page 3, they're trying to do this on page 1, but it will then affect the fields across the form. So in this case, it's just simply show or hide. Now you only have to do one of these. You only have to do show if you want the field to show. We write the inverse automatically. So if this value is no, we're going to hide those fields. We're going to hide them by default. And so they only get shown if this value equals yes. So again, creates that more compact form, reduces your abandon rate for your forms. Yep.
So the criteria checking can go across multiple form blocks on the page.
Correct.
But the swapping has to be within the form block.
No, just anywhere that field just has to be somewhere in that workflow as well.
It
Yeah.
says somewhere about something had to be within the form.
The field update, the first one, where we're doing swapping the list amount, that has to be within a single form block. But this one, dependencies can be across any of the form blocks you place on any of the pages within that workflow. Yeah, and we overuse the word page because it's a donation page, but then there are pages within the page. So we need to come up with a better name for those sub pages. I don't really want to call them sub pages, but anyway. Other tools here include Calculate. We often get asked the question, what about offering our supporter the opportunity to pay the credit card processing fee? Well, what you can do is create a field that says, would you like to pay the processing fee of 3.5%? If they say yes, so if yes, then do some calculation. Now, this requires a little trick. You then have to put your suggested donation amounts in something other than the donation field, so just create another field with those amounts represented, and then take that. You can use gift designation so ultimately I'm going to populate the gift amount field because that's what we look to send off to the payment gateway, process $50 on this card. So use some other field to create your matrix of gift amounts, take that field, perhaps it was called gift designation, and then go over here, grab the math tools, times 1.035%, and that will then push that up. Now, that's an easy way to do it within the software. When we see this done by our partner agencies, they're usually doing some script. They're making it a little bit cleaner. So this is one way to do it. It's not the best way. We do have it on our list to productize that feature because in the peer-to-peer module release just last week, we added that as a productized feature. So we two different development tracks for peer-to-peer and the rest of the platform. So we did that because we had requests there. But now, as we move back towards looking at Page Builder in 2019, this is high on our list to productize this. And since our friends at Zuri Group co-develops a peer-to-peer platform with us, since they beat us to the punch on that one, we need to even things up. So, thank you, Skiff. So you've got show and hide, calculate, and then redirect. So if some form field has some value in it, and you want to send this instead of them completing this page, maybe they want to pop them back out to some other page on your website or to some other page within Engaging Networks. From a donation form perspective, if you were, while you can do multiple language, multiple currency on any single donation page, some clients want to keep those separate so that way when they look at the page results, they say, well, all of our donations in euros go to this page. Anything that's requested in US dollars goes to this page, et cetera. So you could filter the distribution of the pages. So they land on your main donation page, but if they select country equals France, then we're going to send them over to a page in French that then processes in euros. So that's a use case for why you might want to redirect off a donation form. Yes?
I have a quick question on so for that page that you would land on after the donation, is that what would trigger the Facebook pixel if you had it set up, or do you guys, I haven't used
Yeah, I mean, a Facebook pixel you can drop onto any page and then have different pixels on different pages.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the way you would actually, the best way to do that, now, just to.
Oh, sorry, this
Yeah.
is too off topic.
No, you can drop your pixel into the template, so the wrapper for the page, you can drop it there, or pixels should be unique tracking for different page events. Your best way to do that then is to use a component called a code block. Actually, there's one right there. And the code block gives you the ability, I just did some CSS overrides in this one, but then you could put any code or text in there. There is, I think, a 4,000 character limit in the code block. And that's why if you need to go beyond 4,000, first of all, what are you doing on your page that you've got that much code? But then you could use a text block because you're not limited on the text block with that character limit, and then just hide your text block. Just put a CSS tag of display none. And that was actually in the demo. In the webinar Zuri did with us last week about linking the e-card page to your donation page, and I asked the question, why are you using a text block to put your code in? And I was just wondering, because this code block tool came out somewhere last year, I thought maybe the page just got developed before then. But just one little note about code blocks. And code blocks also give you variations for the locale as well, so if you need to do something different. Cool. Any other questions about yes, I forgot one. Processing rules, then it's another ability to do filter and redirects. This, I don't see as much of a need for it on donation pages. When you're on an email to target page, on an advocacy page, for example, there's then other if-thens in there. So if the looked up supporter, if the supporter who is attempting to complete this action to send to their member of Congress, if they live in the Virginia 8th District, then redirect them to this page. Because maybe Don Byers already supporting that particular issue and we just want to send those. So I think there's more of a use case for redirect and filters on other page types. But it exists, so if you have a use case to send somebody elsewhere for some page. But you also have that the dependency as well to do redirects as well. And when you do those redirects, if you're linking to another Engaging Networks page, you can skip the first page of that destination landing page. So if your page is set up a whole bunch of form blocks for the supporter to identify themselves, and then they click and then move on to the action. If you're then going to forward them to another page, and that page also starts with the form blocks they just filled, no reason to show them what they just did, because then they're going to think there's a mistake that, oh, I thought I hit a button and moved to another page. Well, they did. It's just you might have similar looking stuff on there. You can skip that page and just move them on to the next page of the destination action.
As it's moving around, and does it maintain the campaign ID throughout? Plan to go through the transaction?
Yep. Campaign ID is unique to the page. So the campaign ID would come up for whatever page they transacted. For tracking ID, that does persist through the session as they move across pages.
Right, but now you go monthly versus straight, that's still be 2 pages?
You could do monthly in one time on the same page, and it would be the same campaign ID. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sometimes we set it up as a different page if you want to use one generic monthly donor page for all the campaigns, then you use the initial campaign ID to know that you're
Right.
that campaign drawn and
Yeah.
drew in this many recurring
Yeah.
donors. Just get the stats checked.
Yeah. So from a reporting perspective, a page that has both monthly and recurring options will produce 2 transaction types: FCS, fundraising credit card single, and FCR, fundraising credit card recurring. So all of those donations would be associated with that single page, but then you can then filter your report. Show me only the one-time gifts received by this page. Show me only the recurring gifts received by this page. And then that goes a step further. If you do in honor, in memory, we write another data row, an FIM, fundraising in memory. And then so we just keep on layering on additional transaction types to represent all those options. Getting back to the PowerPoint, that item here, all those options that your supporter selects on the page.
Right.
Yeah.
Just got to be conscious that if you build all that into one page,
Yeah.
you're stuck. If you go to an honorary page, you want to kind of use it throughout all your campaigns.
Yeah, exactly.
That you
Yeah, yeah.
It's just a way to force it
You're not going to override campaign ID because it's, the page is going to collect that action. But tracking ID, campaign fund appeal, et cetera, that's one thing I should note in here. If you do have values you want to insert into the page, so how many are using Razor's Edge as the database record? How many Salesforce? How many are really enlightened and using Roy Solutions? Okay. Roy Solutions, because Sarah's in the room. Yeah, Sarah's in the room, and deep integration of the and also Emergent is now another one that has an integration built already. So, okay, so for you Razor's Edge people, campaign, fund, and appeal, that is your life in Razor's Edge. So. So you can't, there's campaign reference fields that you can push into the form itself. I've labeled these 5, because you can have up to 5 campaign references. These then have a home in the transaction record. So then when you integrate that over to Razor's Edge, you've already got that fund code populated in this page. Now, fund codes you sometimes also use as gift designation. So give a supporter, say, I want to support this item, or I want to just area of greatest need. So you could display a gift designation field on the form, give a drop-down, give your supporter the choice to then select it. But if you do need to force something, and regardless of which database of record, there's it's going to be campaign ID in Salesforce. So if you're creating your campaign and then want everything that comes over with the campaign ID to then roll up in the reporting for that object in Salesforce, that's another use of this. So in this case, and then GLID, I was talking with somebody who was using Stratus Live, and they were saying they then have an integration over the general ledger. I'm like, well, okay, let's just I just relabel this to general ledger ID. So whatever, these are repurposable for your account for whatever wherever you're going to send this data, populates a value into those fields such that you then have that data already, and you don't have to then have some kind of lookup table out external to say if this, then then.
and then that can get pushed to the following pages.
Some of this you can then populate from. It would take probably a little bit of JavaScript on those follow-on pages to then pull a value that was already present. But because there's a value that actually gets placed into this interface inside the admin section for every page. Let's see. So, any other questions about some of the dynamic behavior that you can easily add to your pages? Okay, cool. Okay, so we talked option packages. New paint job. Oh, and Brian just left the room. Ryan Kassler from Foresight Studios just left the room. Foresight Studios built a whole bunch of free and flexible templates is the name we've given to them. The free and flexible templates are pre-built page templates. So jump back over to a browser. This is not one of the free and flexible templates. This is some ugly thing I've been using in my account for a long time. Let me find a good example. Yeah, it'll work. No, that's not the one I wanted to show. Okay, try that again. There we go. So this example, this is one of the templates. And so basically it's a template that's already designed for the page, has a place where you can drop a background image, and then has all of the text blocks, form blocks, as a scroller, I guess is the best word for it. So you can scroll up and down those fields, but the image stays in place. So if you have compelling images, it might give the person that emotive response to say, yeah, I'm going to support this, cute kids, pets, so if you're involved in those kinds of causes, you've got a leg up on everyone else. But whatever that image is, I think really impactful image, CPJ, Community Protect Journalists. And I visited the museum within the last year, and just it's a somber place when you consider how many journalists are killed around the world every year, and then these are bullet holes in a wall. So when I looked at this, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's pretty impactful as to why it's so important to help that particular organization. So the free and flexible templates are pre-built, and with just a couple of changes, you can then swap out the image, you can swap out the logo. So this logo that appears to be within this editable area, I'm clicking and clicking away here, I can't edit it because it's part of the template. So if you want to access the template, you can go in the template, and then actually I think it's down in the bottom section. It's just the HTML wrapper for the page. Yeah, that's the background image right there. The logo is somewhere up here in the top. And so I use this template all the time whenever I do a demo for a potential client. I then grab an image and grab a logo off their site, and then just go swap in 2 items, and it looks like I did a lot of work for them in advance. And they're like, "Hey, that looks great. Let's join Engaging Networks for today." And so just to show you a couple other examples here, let's see what else I got for that particular style of template. So it's one style of the template to have that box over on the left. There's other versions where it's in the middle. So there's basically a library of them, and we've got to figure out a better way to share that library so you can then say, "Oh, hey, let's use that." So if you're tired of the design that's on your pages now and you just want something quick and easy, maybe you just want to launch a new campaign quickly, it's just a quick and easy way to do it with those templates. Yeah, let me find another one. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, so there's one from Woods Hole, their new client. And the nice thing about these templates that when Foresight built them, they included buttons on here. And so buttons are a nice way to then, and then we're using the built-in feature of dynamic behavior to select one time and monthly and change up these amounts. So they still take advantage of all of the built-in features in Engaging Networks, but then pretty easy to then change anything up that you need to. Like, for example, the button colors. When I sampled this, I don't just change the background image and the logo. I then take a step further. I sample what the color is, figure out what the hex value of the color is, and I'll go in and change the buttons in advance of the demo as well. And so in that case, changing up some of that. In this case, we look at this page in the browser. There is a script on here, Foresight Fancy Demo Styles. And in here, and just because I know CSS, I know where to find this, that the background color for the button is right there, hex value. I'll just go swap out the color. So that's that's slightly advanced. I'm not a designer. I know enough to be dangerous. And then I'm always going to Mon to say, I broke this. And she fixes it because she is a designer. So there's lots of stuff you can do with these templates that will give that next page that nice new look that you might want for it, a new paint job. Any questions about templates?
So this may not be so much about the templates, but I was looking at the campaign references fields that you were using. Logged into our account, I don't see how to add as an option
Yep.
to your page settings.
That you do from account settings. So where it says hello, your first name, go to account settings and roll all the way down the bottom of this screen. There they are. So there's a campaign references section. Yeah, just turn on as many as you need and then drop a value in there. These then appear in the transaction record in campaign data 21 through 25. No?
I think aren't they external reference?
They're further over. Yeah, they're further over in the transaction row. Okay, yeah. Somewhere in the transaction row, that pops out. This value will be in there. Because then the transaction row also includes like gift designation, amount, is it single recurring? So there's 36 columns that represent all of that stuff about the data. And then these campaign references are outside the 36 because they're extra. So that is part of that. Any other questions before we move on to the next item? Okay, cool. Covered the paint job. Regular or premium? Yeah, I was having fun with this. Regular premium is about premium donation page. So in Engaging Networks, you click on the little page icon. When you click on new page, okay, so you're familiar with the donation page, which is the piggy bank. Well, if you want to offer a free gift with that to encourage that higher level of giving, Then our piggy bank is wearing a sweatshirt. Originally, it was just a sweatshirt, but then Dan Chimchak, our Director of Technology, just decided to be a little funny about it. He then put a flash stripe on said, he had the designer go back and put a flash stripe. So piggy bank wearing a sweatshirt with a flash stripe. And then e-commerce, of course, can't be outdone by that. Our new e-commerce module is the piggy bank inside a shopping cart. So there you go. So the premium donation page allows you to associate a free gift as a inducement to get that donor to make that donation. So let's see, this one should work. Okay, so in this case, this looks awfully familiar, what we just had up here just a minute ago. But notice the text on this page. If you make a one-time gift of $100 or more, or a monthly gift of $10 or more, you'll be eligible to receive a special gift. Gift choices will appear once you select the amount in these ranges. So right now, I have no amount selected. So if I select a one-time gift, give this amount once, of $100 or more, up pops a box on the page, and that then has a book bag. And this book bag even has size choices on it, so there's 2 sizes for this RIF book bag. And our supporter can also say, no, you know what, keep the item, I don't need it, whatever. Or they can select the actual item that they want. Hit the other radio button up there, there it is. And then when they move on in the page, and here's, I've also got Honor Memorial showing some options there, and then click Continue. Move on to page 2. Where they're going to put in their information for their processing their credit card. But what if they want that gift bag to be sent somewhere else? So we have a new field for, called shipping address field, I think is what it's actually called in the software. And then it exposes some shipping fields. So you do have to enable these fields. You just have to add them to your account data structure. They're in there, you need to put a label on them and then make them available to your forms so you can place them on your forms. So that way, if your supporter wants to send this item to some place other than where their credit card billing is, they have that option. So how does that work? Glad you asked. First step actually is not in the page builder. It is under the page builder menu, but it's down here in components. The components, thankfully, at some point, we changed the order of some of these. Actually, they're still in alphabetical order. Okay. They put a little more sensible order into this, but one of the items down here is called product management. And so in product management, we can create products. And now there are different types of products because there are products associated with a premium donation form, but now products associated with e-commerce and symbolic giving. So here's my book bag. And so all I did was upload an image, gave it a name. I put some, if we go into the editor here, we can give it a description. We can give it a SKU number. So if our fulfillment house actually has a SKU number on this item or UPC code, whatever, we can throw that on there. How many do we have in stock? So we can also manage our stock here as well, and then it'll sell out at some point. What the price of that item would be, or what the receiving value of that item is, particularly for you Canadians in the room, or the whatever actually the CRA calls it, receiving value. I'll do my IRS to CRA translations later. And we can create categories and tags for these products just so we can associate them differently. And then here's our size options. I gave different SKU numbers there, different stock counts here as well. So the first step was just simply add the product. So adding the product, oops, come on, scroll bar, there you go. Adding the product, we made it a little obvious, create new product. This is the button you click, and then decide which type of product is. Is it going to be associated with a premium donation page or a symbolic gift? Symbolic gift is the new part of the new e-commerce module. So there's just a couple of different features on it, and then it's different select with the forms look to the particular product type.
John, if you're actually selling things in a store via e-commerce, will there be another category to choose?
Yeah. Yeah, there's going to be another category eventually for when we so next year when we take e-commerce and turn to physical products to add in shipping. The other thing we're going to need to add, which I did not hear anyone say yesterday, is sales tax. Because How many people think that when you sell items to the public as a nonprofit that you do not have to collect sales tax? Good, nobody's putting their hands up. Yeah, because you do have to collect sales tax. Your organization doesn't pay sales tax, but you do need to collect it on sold goods, so we need to figure that out too. The good news is that when I worked at Blackbaud, I was the last person that supported Blackbaud Net Community who actually knew how to configure their e-commerce module, and I knew how to do all the tax stuff, and also know it in Sphere as well, so I'm going to help the dev team figure it out in ours. But yeah, so create the product, and then move over to Page Builder, and go ahead and create that page. So select the piggy bank with the flash stripe on the sweatshirt, and it really isn't that much different than any regular donation page. Okay. Everyone's furiously checking their email, which is slowing down the Wi-Fi, which is why I can't move to this page. Or maybe you're creating premium donation pages right now.
You have to have e-commerce turned on in the account?
Yeah, that is an account setting. Well, premium donation is an account setting, and then e-commerce is also an account setting. The reason why we made them account settings is because we thought we were going to charge more for those tools. At some point, we will likely charge more for e-commerce, but Graham hasn't told us what the pricing is, despite monthly requests to Graham. Say, okay, Graham, what's the pricing going to be? But like we did with, and even like marketing automation, we toyed with the idea of like, should we charge for this? And then and we said, no, we shouldn't charge for it. So oftentimes, we have to give ourselves the ability to turn it on or off from your account. So it's just, if it's not appearing in your account, send an email to support@engagingnetworks.community and say, please turn this on. And then Josh, Mon, or Sam will go ahead and turn it on for you. So if you're not seeing something that's in there, connection has timed out, try again.
While you're doing that, also kind of weird design question on the template on page 1 of there, the radio buttons were extremely small on the premium. Can you change
Yeah,
that?
sure, yeah.
I mean, is it JSing or is that a way?
Yeah, the CSS, there's a class on there. So yeah, not a problem to change that. Okay, so much for the Wi-Fi. Okay, well, let's just make sure it's the Wi-Fi and not something we're doing. It's going to go over to production. I was in our test environment. We have 4 environments. We have 2 dev environments where the dev team plays. Then when stuff is about to roll out in a product, goes into our test environment, which is where I always demo from. So when I'm doing demos for potential clients, I'll log in the demo account one day. Hey, that's new, and because then it tells me that yes, stuff really is coming out. And then we push into production, and that's when you get the notification, you get the release notes, and is available in your account. I just really want this environment though. Okay, fine. I'm going to use production instead, and so. I'm not sure I have one actually built in this account. I don't. Great. Oh, I do.
You send out that premium as a free gift or a donation amount. Is that something, cost of entries to get deducted from what's actually tax?
Yeah, so when, I'll get to that in a second. So in a premium donation page, sorry, this is so tiny. Oops. Come on, Chrome, where are you? There you are. So all that's really different from a donation page to a premium donation page, you see we've got all the same elements in here, but notice this other item down here, premium gift. And it's a single block insert, so it is called a premium gift block. And when you click on edit, here's where you set up your the gates on your what the value is. So if in this case, if somebody's gift is, so in this case, I'm trying to get if their donation is $100 or more. And for whatever reason, we went with a little bit of a backwards logic here. So as you read this, it's a little confusing. If the supporter's donation amount is equal to or below 99. So I don't know why we went with the backward logic. I think we should have said if the gift is between. Yeah, I think it would have made more sense. So if they give less than $100, they're going to get no incentive. But if their gift is between 100 and 200, so I've got an upper limit on here, then they're going to get this field bag. We can do a separate one for recurring or not. So I know some clients offer an incentive only for recurring donations because they want to encourage recurring donations. So if you make a recurring donation, we'll send you the T-shirt. Whereas if you make a one-time, they don't because they want to encourage that gift. So you have that option of not offering one. You can offer one or both on your form or not.
Can that reference a field that you're opening? Like, you're sending out a direct mail piece, you put out what they need to get the premium. Is there any way for that amount box to come from one of the stores?
Yeah, you can populate an amount into the donation form. So you could already have that amount populated. So if you had, even if you had a gift matrix on there, I'm not sure what I have on this form. Yeah, in this case, I'm just using a drop down. So we could actually populate the value in there at that level.
How does the, can you make a large report off the top of the It's not always $100.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can populate, so in the link, you can populate a default amount. So you can either set a default amount here that is then over that threshold that you set up for the premium donation, and therefore it'll appear by default when they hit the page. Or you can populate that amount into your link string. So that way, when they click, so you could put two buttons in your email. Click here to make a small donation and get no gift. Click here to give $100 or more and get the gift. And then throw $100 into the string, populate that into the form. Yeah.
Trying to get, when you get to the point where you're putting in the amount, it hits the amount based on what they put in the form. So let's say it's $95
Mm-hmm.
for this person, it's $120 for somebody else. Bridge.
Oh, so you want to do different strings for different people to qualify for the gift?
Well, there's different strings, but also those rules. How do you,
Yeah.
can you put those rules pull for defining values?
The rules are set on the page. So you can't, when we set up the rule, it's for anyone visiting this page that once they hit that threshold, the gift block appears and they're eligible for the gift. But we're not doing separate rules for different supporters. If that's what you're asking, I'm not sure I'm quite following.
I know we do stuff for calculating giving streams, so
Yeah.
it's sort of the same
Yep.
thing, but if we do a direct mail piece, we tell them on the form what the values are. If you populate those into their records somehow, can that make a decision farther down to say, okay, you gave it this level, so you show the incentive.
So if they're past giving, then qualifies them for a gift if they make, no, okay, yeah. Let's talk about it after, yeah. Cool. So the other part of this is in the, so you set up, just drop the block on the page. It's that simple put your values in there. And then the other piece of this is in the autoresponder email that there is notice that there is receipt and receipt with gift. So the receipt with gift gives you the opportunity to then say, thank you for your donation of $100. As a result of that, we're sending you a gift valued at $15. Therefore, your eligible amount is $85. So yes, that is the first iteration of split receipting in Engaged Networks. So, yeah, it's in there. Takes a little bit of thought process. 2 minutes left, according to Ben. Okay. And glad you gave us a segue there to talk about highest previous contribution. So high octane fundraising using highest previous contribution. So what is this all about? Highest previous contribution is a scoring we do on your entire file once a month. You can set this to look back however many number of months. Find the highest gift each supporter is given, push that in store that as a value on their record. That then becomes, so here's a screenshot of, I've got this account enabled to look back at Engaging Networks transactions past 12 months. So on my record, it finds that my highest gift was in the past 12 months, December 19th, 2017, $248. Stores that value on my record. Now you can look at the Engaging Networks transactions, so the online transactions that occurred in Engaging Networks, FCS, FCR, et cetera. You can also look at offline transactions that you've integrated. So if you're pushing offline data back from Razor's Edge, Salesforce, wherever, back into Engaging Networks, or solutions, obviously, too. Pushing that back into Engaging Networks, we can look across, we can have a wider set of data to score across. Or you could import a value, and this is now available via the APIs. So if you're using some like other wealth screening tool and just wanted to repurpose our next suggested gift for some other wealth screen thing to then push a value, you can do that as well. So that then displays on the supporter record that highest gift. And then this turns into an insert in both the donation page and in email. So we create a suggested gift string. We can either use multiplication or addition here. So to take that highest previous gift plus 10%, plus 20%, plus 30%. So in my case, and you can also round up. So I gave $248, which you wouldn't want to say, then give $298 and $348. You can round up the next 1, 0, or 5. So in my case, you might just want to go to the 0. So you might want to say, would you make a gift of $250, $300, or $350? So you can create a unique ask string based on that input of next suggested gift. Highest previous contribution then is the input for next suggested gift. So the string is the next suggested gift. And you can also put layers in there. So if their gift was, say, between $100 and $500, do this addition or multiplication. If their gift was over $500, do this multiplication. Then that's an insert. So the gift amount field or donation amount field, whatever you've labeled in your account, will then have an extra checkbox to then select one of these gift strings. You can create as many gift strings as you like to be that input to the page. And also in your emails, you can then push that in. Would you consider giving this particular amount? So it is taking that concept of individual giving into the digital mode, because direct marketers do this all the time. Yes, question?
What does that look like if there's problems loading the page?
There's problems loading the page.
I'm wondering if there are going to be any like funky symbols or slow codes for people who
If the supporter has a next suggested gift value, this will override the default amounts that you place on the page. No, it's just no jiggering. It's just what we so that page load. If you're sending them from an email with a link to a page that has next suggested gift enabled on it, as we parse out what to display in those fields, and if we see that there is a value and see there's a string associated with that, we display that instead of. So it's all things happen in a particular order during page load. So we're going to pull that field. It's not going to then flip it like it occurred on page. It's on load, not on. On load is the JavaScript way of saying that. So on page load, it populates, not after the fact. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Cool.
Using HPC, you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say there are more than like 37 clients that have turned on that account.
but no one in this room.
Okay, so just to close out with a couple other ideas, and I won't necessarily go in the software on this one. Give their friends a ride. So add social share to your pages, so that way when your supporter hits that thank you page, have the Facebook and social share turned on. To do social share in Engaging Networks is far easier than any other platform. Other platforms, you got to edit the head tag of your page, hack that HTML, stick some JavaScript in it to populate your OG tags and your meta tags. That sounds really complicated, because it is, and it's really annoying and frustrating, and I had to do it so much in other products. But we just give you little boxes, and then we insert that into the appropriate part of the HTML. So by all means use that, because then we also help you track who the referred party was and who the referee was. So if I share that, if I make a donation, share that, Ben then sees that, he makes a donation, my ID gets recorded in his transaction and vice versa. So that way you can tell who your most influential social sharers are in your account. And then the last item, free car washes for life. This one came to me while I was eating breakfast this morning, and so I had to add it. So keep your supporters coming back. make great use of that thank you page. So the thank you page, we've given you some awesome tools to create different versions of your thank you email. I'm probably going to pick up one where I don't have this enabled. So it's the autoresponder email. Oh, good. So we have a version for single gift. We have a different version for recurring gift, because you might want to then use a couple of field inserts like the frequency of that gift and the amount. Thank you for your monthly gift of $15 that will be processed on your card ending in 4328 on the first day of every month, et cetera. You can merge in all those transactional fields. They're all available. Take this a step further, though. You can do different language versions. So if you're picking my first idea or second idea to add multiple languages, create your autoresponders in those languages as well. But then custom versions. Custom versions allow you to then trigger off of, say, the donation amount. So if that gift is over $5,000, that's your President Circle level giving, put different content in your autoresponder email. Yes?
This is attached to the donation page?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Or supporter fields. So if you have a field that designates somebody as a board member, then you maybe want your board members to receive some different content, or the donations in a particular currency, then do a different version of that to say thank you. Because then that's where that somebody asked a question about currency formatting. Then that's you want to put a different currency format in there.
And this is connected to that library I saw in another demonstration where you can dump in, like maybe you're making a new page and you want to dump in some pre-existing
Yep.
thank you text.
Yep. So there is a library. So there are a whole bunch of Yep. Cool. Any questions? That is the end of the presentation. Cool. Thank you.